People will roll in, but thank you for being here. I'm actually excited. This is a pretty small group, makes it a little bit more intimate. This is a coaching session, so we're gonna have some fun. Hopefully everybody is comfortable maybe being a little vulnerable in this session. We're gonna talk a little bit about some skills and tools you can use to coach, maybe in your own jobs or maybe even at home. I know there were some sessions before around mentoring and advising. Coaching is actually something very different. So I hope we can kind of give you a couple practical tools that you can take with you. It's a very short session. I've actually been learning to coach myself by taking a class to become a certified life coach. That's a 24-week class with 2 hours a week of evening classes. So there's so much to cover, which we can't cover all in this session. So we're just gonna kind of touch on the basics, have some fun with it. You all are going to be doing some coaching together. So a couple reminders about that. I just want to make sure everybody knows this is a safe space. We hope that you can share. Sometimes it might be something personal or a little bit emotional. Know that everything that gets shared here is confidential. We would like to ask you that when you speak up and you share in the bigger group, that you don't share any personal stories, but more experiences or things that you noticed in those conversations that came up for you, but without sharing any of the details of the stories that people share with you. So with that, I wanted to start out with a little, oh, here's the clicker. I was like, where's my slide not evolving? We're going to start out with a little warm-up, and I want you all to think for just a minute about a time when someone helped you come up with some clarity or kind of an aha moment, gain some insights about something without them really telling you what to do. A moment where you think you were able to take action on something just because of the guidance of someone that you met with. And so I just want you to take a minute to think about a moment in your life where that happened, and then we'll pair you up, and we want you to share that experience with each other for a couple minutes. Just think about what was most helpful in that interaction, and then we're just gonna share a couple, reflections on how those conversations were really impactful for you, just with the group. So we'll hand a microphone to anybody who raises their hand. So just spend a minute thinking about a moment in your life where someone helped you come up with some clarity or an insight. Starting now. Just think about it for a minute, and then pair up with two people and spend a few minutes just exchanging that moment, or share some experience about what made that event so helpful and impactful.
I'm not sure I can.
The one I'm thinking of is one where I was like circling an answer. Yes, that answers all of these things I was trying to independently do.
Yeah.
I guess in that, part of that, what makes helpful sharing with someone else and just having that other perspective. Like this and everything. Rather than I had been feeding myself.
and isn't even necessarily talking
That's true. Yeah, if you've just been internalizing it, then you're actually.
Just from realizing.
that's a great way.
Okay, we'll wrap this up. I know you all want to talk for a lot more time, but does anybody want to share how these conversations were impactful? Okay.
We both realized that we had had situations where we had feelings that some interaction may have been out of line or unwarranted, or wasn't, shouldn't have been taken place, but we kind of would hide those until someone brought it to our attention that it was actually out of line and that our feelings were true, and then we were able to move forward and once those feelings were validated. But that similarly, it's very easy to convince yourself otherwise unless you have someone to filter that through.
Yeah.
So this happened when I was in graduate school. I had a big problem with not asking for help when I needed it, and actually had my PI come and sit me down and say, I've seen you go at a problem just head first, like there's a boulder in your way, and you just keep thinking, oh, I can just dig my way through this, instead of asking someone, hey, is there a path around this thing that I can look at? And that's something that it helped me realize it wasn't just in my work life that I was doing at. That was impacting just daily life with friends, with family. And as I've moved on in my career, it's been very helpful to remember that and to pass that on to other people you're working with or you have working for you, just to remind them, people aren't here to, like, your management is not there to punish you. They're there to help you figure these things out and solve these problems. So it really helped me to not be afraid of talking to someone at a higher position, say, hey, I need help with this. Do you have any insight?
Great. Those are some really good reflections. So we, unfortunately, we had a third speaker here. He's actually a professional coach, John Hildebrand. He's a coach I've worked with in the past 6 months as I was learning to find some of my own leadership skills and how to use those skills to become better in my role. But he had another obligation that came up last minute, but he decided to record a little video about why coaching matters. So we're going to play that for you. He sends his apologies for not being here, but gives you at least a little bit of a feeling of what John does in his job. And if you ever are interested in working with him, come see me. I can tell you all about how great of a coach he is. He's actually a leadership coach. So he works with people like you or professionals who want to become better at all kinds of aspects in their careers, to work better with their teams, to be better leaders, or sometimes for people who feel a little bit stuck or at a crossroad in their career and they don't really know where to head after that. He's really good at guiding you through that process and figuring out your own way of where you want to end up. So I really enjoyed working with him. So here is John.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic time in Las Vegas. I wish I could be there with you, but I am on the East Coast facilitating a team workshop. I know Karolien and Michelle have an incredible session for you today that will be engaging, insightful, applicable, and fun, and I'm happy to be making just this brief video appearance. My name is John Hildebrand. I am a professional leadership coach and organizational change consultant, and I want to answer a few questions that you might have today. First, what exactly is coaching? And second, why should you incorporate coaching into your leadership approach? To start, I want you to pause for a moment and think about the best boss or leader that you've had. What makes them stand out? Chances are they didn't just spoon feed you answers. Instead, they probably asked great questions, challenged you to think differently, and gave you the space to grow. That's a coaching approach. I want to clarify what coaching is first by describing what it is not. Coaching is not mentoring. Mentors describe their experience and their expertise in hopes that it will help the person they're mentoring. Coaching is not advising. Advisors are experts who provide direct solutions to problems. And coaching is not dictating or directing. There are no shoulds or have-tos or musts in coaching. Instead, coaching focuses on creating the relational conditions that help people realize and unlock their own potential. It's about asking rather than telling. It's about guiding rather than giving solutions. And it's about reflecting what you hear, what you notice, rather than fixing anything. It's about helping people clarify their thinking, recognize their behavior patterns, experience aha moments, and take control of their own growth and ability to change. So why should this matter to you, to the leaders in this room? Well, research shows that when a leader takes a coaching approach, their people become more engaged, more confident, take more initiative, and perform better. Why? Because instead of relying on the leader for direction, for advice, for support, they're developing their own problem-solving skills and abilities and stepping into their own leadership potential. These studies suggest that managers who coach regularly see better performance, better team collaboration, and even lower turnover rates in their organizations. Coaching helps support people in feeling capable and feeling empowered by giving them the space to think for themselves. At its core, coaching isn't about fixing people's problems. It's about helping people uncover their own best solutions. Now, admittedly, as a leader, it's not always beneficial to take a coaching approach. Sometimes you need to be more directive or more solutions-oriented. However, today, what I want you to do is to step into your growth zone and learn and develop some of these coaching skills so that you'll be able to apply them in your workplace and in your life when it's beneficial. As you move forward today, you're going to see coaching in action and you're going to practice these coaching skills. And I would invite you to approach them with curiosity and have some fun. And know that coaching and these skills that you're developing are one of the best ways to help other people thrive. You're in great hands with Karolien and Michelle, and again, I wish I were there to practice and to engage with you. If you're interested in coaching for yourself or someone in your organization, please reach out and schedule a discovery call with me so we can connect. I can learn a little bit more about your situation and how I might help. And you can experience what it's like to be in a coaching conversation with me. Enjoy the rest of your time together, have fun practicing, and I hope to see you at some point in the future.
Sorry. So my name is Michelle Itano, and this is just a summary slide of what coaching is. John went through a lot of what it's not and what it can do, but what I really like is the assumption of curiosity and leaning into the idea that people know their options, but there's often something blocking them from getting there. So now we go into what I believe John thought would be the fun part of this exercise, except for maybe me and Karolien. So we are going to show you some very brief examples, noting that this was for example purposes and demonstrative. So please notice how conversations like this may go and what not coaching may look like to you.
Oh boy, here we go.
Okay. All right, Michelle, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. There's been a lot of things on my mind. But
Hold on. I just got a message from someone.
Oh,
Just-
yeah,
just
no
a second.
problem. I totally get
This
it.
is pretty important, so let me just respond to that.
Yep.
Oh, man. Okay. All right. Let's just quickly respond. All right. Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, I don't know. Let me think. I think one of the things I've been worried about is my kind of advisory group has been asking for more survey information and, more feedback from people. But I'm kind of hesitant to do that, but I want them to know that I'm open to feedback, and I'm just not really sure how to walk that line between asking for input where we only hear from a few people and getting kind of the input
Hold
I
on. So
want.
you're saying user input or colleagues or?
I think they want user input, but yeah.
Well, I think that's a bad idea. User input. I mean, you're always going to have the ones who are unhappy. They're going to. I mean, if what you think you're going to do a survey, I would never do a survey because you're going to have 5 respondents, and they're always going to be the ones who want to either complain the loudest and are upset, and so you're not going to get a good representation of everybody who uses the facility. Does this? I think we should just do that. No.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I don't really know then how to show that I'm still open to feedback or receiving feedback.
I think you should just not. I think
Yeah.
I would just go and tell them you're not going to do a survey.
Okay, that was just so embarrassing. This is not who I am. Who wants to reflect on this, and what do you think stood out as not coaching? Anything you observed? Okay, come on.
Well, one thing was she's clearly distracted. You are clearly distracted by whatever else is, whether other fires are going on in your life. Yeah, and you don't have the full attention on the coachee.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah. The second thing I think is very clearly that she's already giving out her perspective. It's fine. Perspective is fine, but more of a solution and just kind of telling her what to do. And again, in my experience of coaching as well, it's always that there are questions. There are more questions about how you find the answer yourself rather than giving out what to do and what not to do.
I would just make a quick comment, but that by the time somebody comes to you, they're usually massively stressed out. They didn't want to come to begin with. They wanted to solve the issue by themselves. So if they come to you, the reason this is not coaching was because sort of you just said, oh, that's fine, let's not do that or whatever. But I think I've found over the years that by the time somebody comes to you, it means a lot to them. They're nervous about coming to begin with, and they wanted to solve it. So I think coaching is even more than helping with a solution is understanding this is a stressed out person or somebody who's upset or they wouldn't come to begin with.
Great, thanks. We'll also have some sharing after the next one, so I'll keep an eye on the hands if I didn't get to you. So yes, it was more giving advice, right? Distracted, directing options, and really trying to solve the problems for others, which we all may be problem solvers naturally, right? So now we're gonna try again, and note that Karolien did an amazing coaching job of me, and I tried to cut it down to just an example of how this could go differently.
Yeah, I sense that you're hesitant to do a survey, and it sounds like you're just worried about survey response and survey fatigue. Is that how you're feeling about it?
Yeah, I think I want to be open to feedback, but I tried early on and I found that either we didn't get much or always the positive feedback was less specific than the negative. And so I just find it really hard not to focus on one negative comment, especially if it's anonymous. I just feel like I need to fix it. And I'm worried that we'll give it too much emphasis.
Yeah, I can see that. What else do you think would be hard with surveys?
Yeah, I mean, most of the users who are using us the most, I think, won't be that motivated to respond because they're pretty happy. They don't have that much specific to share, and there's nothing really in it for them. And they're busy. Like, why would it be a priority? And I know they're busy, so I don't want to ask them to do something extra when I don't know the purpose for it. I feel like for most communications, it's like, know the purpose, and then it's worth everybody's time. And so, yeah, I think I really question what the purpose of the survey is. And I wonder if that's at the root of it, that I'm a little uncertain that there's a concern from the advisory group that I don't know about, that they're looking to be represented in the survey, and that's different. So I wonder if that's actually who I need to be seeking more feedback from. Because I'm not that concerned about my users, really.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, I think that might be kind of the key point is, what is it that they're trying to answer? What question are they trying to answer? And is there another way for me to provide that for them? Or is there something that they have a concern that they don't want to voice that I can help bring to the surface?
Yeah.
All right, we kept talking after that, but hopefully that was a bit of a different example. What did you all notice during that conversation?
So the boss there was a full attention. It was obviously important to her to hear what her employee was trying to tell her. She was asking questions and leading questions for her to come to her own conclusion, and she wasn't dismissive of her ideas.
I noticed that Karolien did a lot more listening than talking.
What did anybody notice about me or kind of what I went through during that process?
Yeah, I felt there was a very good transition from not knowing to almost kind of finding out what the problem was, and I thought that was very evident just by questions and just by giving a moment of thinking and reflection within yourself. So that's what I feel the power of coaching here.
For me, I noticed it was so much slower, and watching it back, I was like, that's the aha moment, right? I was like, oh, I was focusing on the wrong thing. And I think that's often what we're looking for in coaching. And I hope what some of these examples show is that you don't necessarily need an hour to do it, right? It can be a few minutes, and it really is asking those powerful questions, practicing active listening, and really believing that the other person knows ultimately what their choices are and can come to that. And what I have struggled with maybe as a coach is my innate curiosity. And so putting that on hold. I don't need to know all of the details that brought them to that, but just trust that they have arrived there. Great. So this is some of those coaching competencies. And there are many different ways to show this, but ideally it will start with active listening and giving somebody your full attention, more listening than talking. asking really powerful questions. And what we want to emphasize and practice today is that these, you can be scripted, but you can also do so in a not very dictated way, right? But you're trying to ask questions that can't be answered with yes or no. And then creating awareness, bringing up what you notice in somebody, and that could be emotions or words that they've brought up many times. So Karolien noticed a hesitancy in me. And then often it is planning action. So helping somebody to arrive, now you've identified the problem, what do you want to go with from there?
Okay, so now we're going to do some fun coaching ourselves. We want you to group up in groups of 3, and you're going to each take a role. There's going to be one person who will act first as the coach, then the other person will be the coachee, and we'll have the third person be an observer. And the observer, their role is to just watch, listen, follow those kind of, are these competencies present, or where did they maybe fail a little bit in that regard, and just think a little bit and observe that, and then we'll make sure that you can all kind of share those, impressions in the group, and then we'll have a little bit of a overall group discussion about this. We also put some prompts there, because those are kind of prompts that can help you while you're having these conversations, when you're practicing active listening, and all of a sudden they kind of stop talking. You can do prompts like, well, you can observe their responses in a physical way or in an emotional way. You can say things like, well, it sounds like, or I'm hearing, sensing, and repeating what you think they're going through. You can ask things like, tell me more about this. It's sometimes super powerful when you ask a question and then you ask it again, or you say, what else? What else? Often people will share in that first moment something that's on the surface, but when you ask what else, they go deeper, and it sometimes leads to that aha moment where they start to understand what's actually at the root of what they're struggling with. Things like, I notice, is it true that? So Michelle is basically putting some sheets on your table that have some of these prompts listed that can help you in these coaching conversations. There's also a little QR code on there to some more resources that we've developed for you in a Word document. It's on a Google Sheet. So if you want to take this home and want to find these prompts back or some other guidelines around coaching, please scan the QR code. So for now, each of those conversation will last 10 minutes, and we'll let you know when you're reaching the end of the 10 minutes, and then we're going to switch roles. So the first person who's the coach will then become the coachee, and then the person who's observing will take the role for the coach. So make sure that everybody gets a chance to be practicing coaching. If you don't feel comfortable coaching, that's okay too. You can say that you just want to be the observer. That's totally fine. You don't have to participate, but we really hope you have some fun with it. Share, be vulnerable. Like I said, most of the conversations will be confidential. And when we do our group discussions, let's make sure we keep those personal experiences to yourself and just share your experience of this coaching practice. So does everybody have a group of 3? Anybody who's not part of the, 2 is fine too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, great.
We'll give you a heads up when we're about to transition. There won't be time for the discussion at that point. Just hold on to your observations, switching, and then we'll come back. Okay. Go.
Go.
Okay. So we need, right on time. Okay.
30 minutes, great. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Perfect. And then after, when we reach 10 minutes, we'll wake up switch to 2 more times. Mm-hmm. And then we do reflections.
That's it? Okay.
Should we just do group reflections?
I think, yeah, and then I realized we didn't talk about.
Oh, it's for sure.
I wonder where. There.
What next?
Okay. All right, sorry to cut you all off. We're going to switch roles, but I just want to say a couple more reminders. So really try to focus on active listening. So I know it's hard. It is so hard. Listen, let them talk. And then when you feel that moment where you might want to come in, make sure you ask open-ended questions, you know, not questions with yes and no answers, but really try to focus on active listening, not interrupting. And if there's a pause, that's okay too. Okay, so in the next round, we'll switch roles and keep those things in mind. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Start wrapping up. We have just about a minute before switching. All right, we're going to go into the last rotation. And in this one, we would just ask that if you've been focusing on one of the elements of the four, that maybe focus on a different one, right? If you've been focusing maybe on presence or the questions a lot, maybe think some about awareness of either an emotion or words or something that you notice about someone. So kind of challenging you to focus on a different area that you might have before. Great.
Okay. Time to wrap it up. I know we can talk for hours. There's a whole reception where we can continue this discussion. Okay, so we are going to do a little bit of reflection. I wanted to just say, in the spirit of this conference where we had a lot of AI talks, all the pictures in these slides were generated by AI. So that was just a funny little side note. So yeah, I saw some really good active listening. I was scanning the room, saw a lot of head nodding, lots of good eye contact, being very present. So I think this might have worked really well. Super curious to hear your experiences. So we're going to ask a couple questions. You know, what felt easy? What did you think was most challenging? Maybe some things that surprised you. So all of you coaches, coachees, observers, if you have anything to share with the group, that would be great. Okay.
So I was the coach, and I just want to say that was way harder than I anticipated. It was like I would say something and immediately know that that was something I was not supposed to say, and then not be able to think of literally anything else. So that's all I have to say.
It is really hard, yeah. Anybody else? Okay.
So on our table, I was playing the role of a coach, and she was an amazing coachee. So what felt easy was that she already knew, like, she already kind of made it very easy and simple by thinking through and kind of opening up and sort of going through all the steps herself. So that made it very, very easy. Like, I did not have to ask a lot of questions. She had a lot of ways of coming out in her own way, and which really shined upon showing her passion in her work, what she's doing, and how she's already solving her problems. So I think that was very easy.
That's great. You were lucky. Anyone else?
I just really like this entire experience because it's very eye-opening. I liked the watching, the being, doing all the roles, because it really gave us excellent feedback to one another on we're all problem solvers. It's so hard not to ask pointed questions and directive questions. So this coaching sheet, like I might just, memorize this, or, maybe laminate it and keep it in my pocket, whatever. But no, it's just so, it's very helpful to think about these things now and applying it to every conversation that I have with almost every person in everyday life. So, yeah.
Yeah, I try this with my own kids. It's actually pretty hilarious. Yeah. They're teenagers, so you can imagine.
I have a question about when you are being a coach and you're trying to practice active listening, but you think of something in your head and you don't want to forget that you say it. So you maybe want to jot it down, but like, how do you do that in a way that still feels attentive? Mm-hmm. That's hard for me.
Yeah. It's actually a really common problem. We all start thinking about the question you want to ask when they're finally done talking. But they will tell you, and I've come to learn this in the coaching classes that I've taken, that the moment you have a question in your head, you're actually not coaching. So you really have to try and it's all about them. It's not about what you want to ask. It's in the moment. It's letting them continue the conversation and guiding them to really come up with their own solutions. And that's hard. And those questions will come up in the moment. So the moment you have a question in your mind, you think, I can't forget about this. Mm-hmm. You're actually not coaching well. Yeah.
One of the other things I tried in the beginning is I would ask somebody, is it okay if I jot some notes down? And what I would often do is like, it made me think of my own story, right? Or advice I wanted to give. And sometimes I would jot that down just to get it out of my head. And then I learned later that it was easier for me not to, right? But in the beginning, sometimes I did that because I needed to remove it. And then later there could be follow-ups like, do you mind if I share a story? Like something that made me think of. But I think it's also I don't have a question, what do you do? And there are some other ones that are just that silence can actually be really powerful, right? You may not need to ask the question. They may fill in something else given that time just to reflect.
As someone who has a company that consults and does stuff like this, I just want to say that I do this specifically for core scientists. Coaching is extremely hard. It is like an advanced skill that isn't something that you should be able to do right away. Some people have a natural knack for it, but as scientists specifically struggle with coaching, you guys are expert at problem solvers. What you want to do is find a solution immediately. I see a lot of nodding heads because that's all you want to do. You're just like, I know what you should do. Let me tell you what I think you should do. And you just have to kind of suppress it and listen. And if you felt like this was impossible, it takes a lot of practice and skill to do so. And it's just something to think about. I think the introduction to the concept is really important.
Yeah.
You guys would be good at mentorship, probably. It's more decisive.
And the other thing to remember yourself, and I think John mentioned that in his recording, sometimes there are people who don't want to be coached. They just want you to help them fix it. But I've tried it in my own team with some of my staff where I felt like, okay, let me test this out. What options do you have? Have you, tell me more. And it's quite interesting to see that their shift in how they respond. They feel a little bit more empowered. They're working through their own problem. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, yeah, maybe I'll try that. And you encourage them. So sometimes it works really well, but it depends a little bit on the individual. And it's okay to step in and help them and advise them. So you just have to feel it out.
Sometimes I help if you ask them right at the beginning, do you want me to help you or do you want me to listen?
Yeah, that's a good point. Anyone else want to share something?
Story back?
So often in coaching you ask, is it okay? And which is kind of taking a step away from the coaching role, but it is often advised that you do that after, right? Because there are friendly conversations, there's supportive conversations, but that is slightly different than the coaching. And so often that occurs a lot when people are learning to coach and can really build camaraderie. But then I think many coaches will wait until the person has kind of run through a process and then said, is it all right if I bring in a story or some more advice? But then you're kind of stepping out of the coach role.
Any other experiences? Okay. Okay, so we want to end this session with just a little call for action. So I think Michelle and I are very hopeful that maybe you'll go back after this conference and try to really apply this. Maybe one conversation with someone in your group where you can practice some of these skills that we went over today, and maybe seek some feedback. Ask how it felt for that person to be coached, and continue learning. So this is not something you can do in 1 hour, 75 minutes. So we did provide you with some resources. I've already heard some people ask, can we do something more elaborate, maybe as a pre-meeting workshop or some training at a regional chapter? So if that's something you're interested in, let us know. But yeah, we hope you all enjoyed it, and go coach. If there are any more final questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to head into a break.
I would say the only thing I would encourage you all to do if you didn't have time to is those who observed. I find that if you comment on something you noticed in either the coach or the coachee, that is often something you don't notice about yourself in those roles, and it can be really insightful. And so if you haven't had time to do that, I just encourage you to kind of touch base with each other before you leave. But I saw a question or comment.
Here. Oh.
That's all I have.
Oh, sorry. QR code, Michelle.
I thought, yeah.
I had this problem yesterday. I guess it worked for me, but access may be a problem.
So for folks who are people managers, we'll try this out as, a coach. But is it beneficial for folks on our team to actually seek out a coach that's not their direct manager? Like, would they be more open in their reasoning, brainstorming exercise? Or is this also like the building the relationship as, a manager and direct report and having that relationship? Like, what's the, advice here? Would it be you should try to cultivate that, or should encourage them to seek coaches that are not you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think both are possible. I mean, it really depends on the comfort level of the person that you're working with or yourself. I mean, like I said, I actually have been coaching for quite some time. Our university, I'm lucky that our university actually has a whole division around talent development. It's professional development for people at the university on all kinds of things, but they also offer coaches, so it's free, because coaching does cost money. But I was fortunate to work with someone, and every month we would meet, and it was someone who didn't know me. It wasn't my direct boss, and that makes it a lot easier to share, especially when you're talking about career choices or some things that you're struggling with in your job. But I have also used coaching with employees who weren't aware that I was coaching them. I just try to practice some of these tools, and sometimes it works really well. And like I said, they feel a bit more empowered to come up with their own solutions. Usually those are people who have some potential to move into leadership positions, and I see that they're willing to kind of come up with their own solutions to things that they're struggling with. So either is possible. I think it depends. If you have people who are struggling with something that they might not feel comfortable having you coach them on, then they can definitely go to someone more professional or independent. You might want to look at your university and see if those resources are available. You'd be surprised. There are a lot of universities who have this. There's more and more focus on professional development. Or you can work with someone like John. I mean, there's coaches out there. They specialize in different fields. John's really specialized in leadership coaching, but there's people who specialize in career coaching or relationship coaching or life coaching. So it's a big field. And if you're interested in becoming a coach yourself, I'm in a program to get a certification for this, so I can coach and be a certified coach. There's all kinds of programs out there, and some of them are actually on that resource document that we're sharing in the QR code when it works.
I think it's open now. Try again.
Can you please try again?
And I would say same thing for us. Like I was able, actually my funder paid for personal coaching at first, and then my institution did peer coaching, and then eventually paid for coaching certification. But if you enjoyed the experience of being coached, that is slightly different than practicing the coaching skills, and they don't need to be both, right? You can receive the coaching and not necessarily be looking to apply the coaching skills right now to management.
And I've been part of a peer coaching circle myself as well. It was with a number of mid-career, mid-management level leaders at universities. And I liked that a lot because it was a little cheaper. And you work with people in a circle, and they kind of coach each other based on their experiences at their own institution, often with people who are in similar roles. And that was kind of fun. Some people like group coaching better, others like more individual coaching. So check it out. There's a lot of resources out there. Any other questions? Okay. thanks for being here. This was fun. I hope you had fun.
Thanks, everyone.